Welcome to the Two Grumpy Men, C. Grooms and Bobby May on the check-in.
What it do? What it do? Friday night special.
Word.
Yeah. Said let's give y'all something. There's been a lot going on. We was off for a couple of weeks, but yeah, we back. While we was gone, there was a lot of shit going on. I mean, last we heard, we was talking relationships, part of our relationship series. But we came across something, and we said, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this comment we seen, and
Word.
and then we'll get into we'll address all her statements, but before we do that, let's read the people the article and or the post, and
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I mean,
yeah.
the relationship series forum is big deal. We had the ladies on. We'll have the guys on, soon. But when you come across things, you gotta kind of address it. So, let me just read basically, what was said here. I ain't gonna even say the person's name. So, what she said is this: talking about women right now. She said, "We haven't been protected or cared for since slavery. They let white men rape their women and sell their babies. Black men with a backbone of the crack era. They let a white Jew dictate what to call their black women in music, so all of a sudden, whether you were poor or successful, a good woman or spiteful, were all lumped in together as bitches, hoes, and worthless, even while taking care of them and the children. Black men didn't want to hold down jobs and were mad when black women wanted them to step up and be men. Black men loved prison and crime more than their families. Then when they started dating other races, all of a sudden a light bulb went off in their head to get their shit together, and laid the blame game down towards black women started happening instead of them looking in the mirror. But not all black men got it together, even with another race. He just found a woman who didn't care about themselves and let these little boys live off them and treat them like shit now. It's sad still this day black men can't look in the mirror and accept the atrocities, mayhem, and chaos they have caused the black community." End quote. All right. I don't, damn, she said a lot right there. Now, I guess the first thing that you could do, as you listen to what was just read, don't take it personal. It's more like the person is expressing their feelings on, what they saw happen, to the black community because black men did not protect their women. Then they went further. They went back. She said, and I quote, "They let white men rape their women and sell their babies." Let's start there. Because that was the basis, of her whole spiel.
So,
woo.
So when I read this, I was like, somebody's quite angry. That's when I read it, I was like, yeah, you definitely are angry. You angry, and I think a lot of things you said is out of hurt.
Well, hurt by what? By what she sees now in the black community, right?
Or dealing with a black man herself and been through shit or whatever. And once, the same way, black women hate to be generalized. Well, the same thing for black men. They hate to be generalized. The statement, "They let white men rape their women and sell their babies," that's a false statement, right? They didn't let them do anything. They were getting their ass beat too. They were getting whooped and they were getting raped too. So
go further, because there was fighting going on.
So I mean, they was, the atrocities that were going on weren't they were raping black men in front of black women. They were calling what they call it buck breaking or whatever the fuck they call it.
That's it.
Like, so they was taking his heart. watching him get raped in front of his own people. So it wasn't they let anything happen. They were outnumbered. They didn't want that to happen. And so when you say that statement right there, that's a problem because that's not true. If you angry and you say that, you can't say that they let them do anything. They didn't let them do that.
Yeah, that was that's a strong word to say they let them,
that was that wasn't the case. And so that right there definitely got a problem with that because, the same things that were going on to the women was going on to the men too. Like, this is what they did. They would get the strongest black men and break them down in front of them to show them that they was in power. They still the same techniques they use today. So, I mean, that right there, that was a false statement. Because I firmly don't believe nobody. They didn't let them do anything. They was done to them because they had no choice, and they was getting whooped and lashed and hung and beat and burnt, getting their nuts cut and all that shit in front of everybody. So it wasn't like this is to say that statement is a strong statement, but it's definitely an incorrect statement.
Well, I think it's a revisionist statement too, because when you look at, you don't really know what happened back then, but based on the narrative that has been painted, when you look at media and Hollywood, they'll have you think that we were weak people, and that's not how it was. Like, there was plenty of murders going on or people dying, while fighting for their lives and stuff like that. So when you put those two things together, the narrative that's been painted since we've been alive, and as opposed to what was actually going on back then, you don't think that white bodies was dropping, was dying? Absolutely. So, to say that, we let this happen, I mean, that's revisionist history, because at the end of the day, if somebody, if they outnumbered, that's one thing. But one thing is for sure, when you break a people, you can do whatever you want to them. But I can guarantee you this. There was people that actually fought back and died, saving their families because they wasn't trying to get raped or, be violated. Like, it's one thing to have a job or to be enslaved and, somebody putting you to work. But to try to, when I look at these movies or read these books, you would see like, they had 300 slaves. Well, then how many people was running the spot? 5? 6? You telling me if 300 people got together, they couldn't kill 5 or 6 people? Yeah, they could. So it was way more to the game than that. It was way more than that.
It was way more. It wasn't, I mean, if they had 300 slaves, they had a lot of workers on the farm. They had a lot of workers on the plantation.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so if you only had 10 managers,
they had overseers in the fields, on horses, with dogs, and all kind of shit. So it was a whole lot of shit going on.
Then I know the way we built mentally, it's like we thinking like, okay, we got 300 people, but that's if you have 300 people willing to die for their freedom. Like, no, you just had 300 people there. It's the same thing as today. You could have 3 million people, and only 100,000 is ready to die, for the right to do what they need to do to secure their freedom. Everybody else is just falling in line. So it's kind of similar to today as she brought it forward, But this is where it kind of made me see like, okay, it's more than just more than venting. This is the line right here. It's definitely personal because we're right here. Here we go. Black men didn't want to hold down jobs and were mad when black women wanted to step up and be men. So, first of all, that's a crazy dynamic. So if you get a job, if they don't have a job, and you want to go and get a job, okay, those are two different things. What does that have to do with him not wanting to be a man? That's what I don't understand. What does that have to do with him not wanting to be a man? I don't know.
I mean,
I'm just asking because I don't know. Like if you step up and you go get a job, then you
no, I
holding
think
it down.
what she's saying is that black men didn't want to hold down jobs, and were mad when black women wanted them to step up and be men.
Now that's crazy because you not with a statement like that, you saying it like we didn't want to work, we didn't want to do nothing, we wanted to live off of y'all, and that's straight bullshit. Because if you want to really look at revision and look at history how it was in the 1970s with the programs that came around, it wasn't it wasn't beneficial to have a man in your home because the government was going to be taking care of you, and that's not every woman, but that was the model that was being pushed. For you to not have a man in the all right, you know what? I could give you $1,000 a month. 1970 now, I could give you $1,000 a month. But you can't have no man in there because then he could go out and get a job. So while you got that going on, you still got a drug epidemic. You had heroin running crazy. So it was a lot going on. You had low unemployment. You had high unemployment regardless because of the nature of what was going on. Cities was broke. So, we had an underground economy, but, that means you in the nightlife. You ain't gonna make your woman feel secure, I guess, if you running around at night, I guess. But to say that the man got envious because you wanted to step up and make bread, I don't know, man. As I really start to really analyze it, I
think she's saying that they didn't want to work, but
they didn't want to work. Like that sounds like black men is lazy.
But when black women was forced, trying to put that battery in their back, like go get a better job or go do this and that, they didn't want to step up and do that. They were satisfied with what they were doing. They were either lazy, they were trying to live off they was trying to live off a woman, or to that extent,
Right.
And some of that it happens everywhere in any race, any color. You got them all. There's worthless black men, worthless white men, worthless Asian men, worthless.
Yeah.
What I'm saying? It doesn't matter. It just, what I'm saying? That come in anything. It could be a word, and women could do the same thing. They don't want. They can I don't want to work. They live off. They can be living on the man. But in that's the thing. Like you have it compelling. Like women want you to be the provider and everything, and then, it would then scream at you when you don't do that.
Do you remember? I'm glad you brought that up.
Or you do this, or let's break it up. You know what I'm saying? Then now all of a sudden everybody want to get old school style. Well, man's supposed to take care of this, man's supposed to take care of that.
When it's convenient.
When it's convenient.
Come on, man.
When it's
That's
convenient.
bullshit.
You know what I'm saying? But so I think that statement. I just feel like it could go. There's some truth to that. There is some truth. Because there is some dudes that's just it is. They just
that got cultivated over generations, though.
So
like,
you know what I'm saying?
To live off of the person, to not want to do nothing, to be lazy. That's not a race thing, but she was talking specifically about black people. So I get
that's
it.
What I'm saying.
Like I get what she's saying, but at the same time, do you remember the movie Dead Presidents and Tay Diggs' not Tay Diggs, Lorenz Tate. Yeah. So he came home from the military. He was working as a butcher, and his lady, who while he was in the military was running around with the street pimp dude
with Cuddy.
With Cuddy, right? So she running around with Cuddy. He dropping the hundreds and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now come on, now we talking about 1970, dude dropping hundreds, and he working a butcher shop. So he working a butcher shop. He bringing home the meat and all of that, but he wasn't making enough bread for what she was used to having. So she tried to make him feel like less than a man, and she was really getting in his shit.
Like, Cuddy, how you think we getting by without his money, without that little money he give me, with that money he gave, without that money he was giving her.
Word.
So that made him. That's like also putting a battery in his back that he gotta go do some crazy shit. You
gotta go get some bread.
Cause he ain't getting no bread. Ain't what skill did he have? He was a soldier who kills. It's either he was gonna be a cop or there was no real job for him.
Wasn't no job for him when he came home. Plus heads was, it was a it was a heroin epidemic going on. It was New
Yeah, but
York
he
City.
wasn't on heroin.
He wasn't on heroin, but
But
just in general, there was no jobs.
yeah, but that's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times when you hear this, when a black man say that, when you making excuses. I mean, now in this age, you can get a job doing. You can use your brain because of the internet and social media, and do a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? So, you can get creative with that. You can get a job. Back then, it was a way more of a struggle. It was way more of a struggle.
It's blue collar or white collar black then, brother, or use underworld, using the underground, getting that getting that fast money.
Yeah, if you
fast money.
If you didn't get a job working for a factory, a car manufacturer, one of them good union jobs or something like that, or a city job or something like that, you was hurting.
That's facts. That's facts.
And so, but then the next statement is, she says, black men were the backbone of the crack era.
Right.
Now,
I was trying to search for where the person was going with that. The backbone of the crack era. So
she's saying that basically, of course we were the backbone of the crack era. They dropped the shit in our hood. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they dropped it at a time where unemployment was so high, there was no job, so dudes is out there making money now, hand over fist. But now the damage that it did, I mean, that's you could see that, later. The residual damage, shit, it's still going on today. But
it wasn't just black people doing
crack.
Hell
no.
So you know what I'm saying? Like you had rich motherfuckers on Wall Street doing crack in back in the 80s, getting caught in bathrooms, freebasing and all that shit, and
right,
and piping and all that shit, late nights in clubs and getting skied up and all that shit. So it wasn't just it just happened. It didn't just happen, but they, the forces that be, crack came into the hood, and it was a way for young niggas. They felt to get money. And so it wasn't like they fell in love with the prison system and all that shit.
Right.
They just said being poor, they didn't want to. They couldn't get a good paying job, and their mindset became, I'm gonna take penitentiary chances. That's
when you're talking about people getting thousands of dollars a day, especially if you was educated, meaning I don't mean by school. I mean on life. If you really had a plan to get out, it's hard though. That's with anything. You know what I'm saying? Like once the money is good, it's hard to get out of anything.
Yeah, I mean, so it's hard to turn down fast money.
It's hard.
It's hard to turn down fast money because it's coming fast, and it's coming faster than you ever thought it would, and the money's piling. And if you from the mid '80s and up. During that era when the shit when it started popping, you watched your whole neighborhood transform into zombie towns and shit like
real.
that. And and once again, like I said, motherfuckers fell in love with the fast money. So they was like, shit, I'd rather in their minds. I ain't justifying it, but in their minds, that's what they felt like. I'm gonna take these chances to get this paper because I need this paper. I want to get out of this shit. But they didn't, what I'm saying? They didn't realize it was still a trap. You know what I'm saying?
All of it is a trap.
Yeah,
the whole game is a trap.
You getting this money, then if you thinking you gonna be Scarface, then you on their radar. If you small time, you probably wasn't on their radar. You just wasn't making. But a lot of dudes wanted to be big time. So once you become big time, you on their radar, cause they know what it is. They know they watching you. They
already know who got what because they
exactly.
I mean, they put the drugs there.
Exactly.
When we say they, we mean the CIA people.
CIA, police, all them motherfuckers.
Yeah, everybody was involved because they had police crews.
Yeah,
that was getting money. Like, come on.
That was getting money. Like, so I mean, it wasn't like this is. So that statement right there, again, when you say the backbone, you saying it was like Like we set up, like
we
we
was the
set
ones
up
that came with the
with
drugs
the
and
drugs
supplied it.
and supplied this shit. Like, no, that shit wasn't the case. So again, you letting anger dictate shit in your words that's not true. You saying that once again. I said we weren't the backbone. We were like a prey. I mean, they just preyed on us and
Pawns.
used it and exactly and just dropped it and was like gave it to a few, dudes and look at
Let's
this
see
shit.
what they do.
See how what kind of money you can make off of this. Next thing you know, they like, oh shit, these motherfuckers is coming back hand over fist.
They know how to make money. All right,
exactly.
so you know what? We gonna rob them. We gonna make units specifically to take down drugs that we stealing anyway and reselling
put it right
to
back
them.
on the street.
I mean, and we gonna
give it to
guns.
the new nigga. We gonna give it to the new. We gonna give it to the new nigga that we like. Yeah, we just got all this. Put that back on the street.
We got your bag. Go sell over here.
We need our cut.
Word.
And most motherfuckers ran with it. You know what I'm saying? So again, that's another statement that was real sketchy. Like,
you know what's also sketchy though? The part about when they decide to go, when a black man decides to go date another race, they're saying that these men get their shit together. A light bulb goes off in their head, and then they veered off and said, well, the people that are taking these black men in that they say don't do shit are weak because they're allowing them to be shitted on, by the black man who don't want to do shit. It's like, so, I mean, I understood the venting process, but I think the thing that stuck out in my head, too, was the music industry part. Here's another. What appears to be fast money. You saw when the game changed. It went from revolutionary, to, basically drugs and murder and crime, glorifying crime.
Again,
you saw the transition.
The transition has something to do with what was really going on in the streets, because that's what hip-hop is. It's from the streets.
No doubt.
At that time, what was going on in the street in the early 80s, in the late 80s, going into the early 90s, you had more revolution. You had the KRSs, the Chuck D's, the Rakims. You had a lot more. You had the X-Clans. You had a lot more people. And they were giving you that positive energy. They was giving you that, and it was a balance, because that's what hip hop is. Some people, it was a balance. You had the street shit, you had the real MCs, you had the revolutionary shit, you had the party shit. But it was a balance of all of them, because every artist, to be an MC, you had to have many styles. So a lot of these MCs had many styles, so they would make many different songs. They were saying to either, it would be on their albums. They had a shootout record, they have the ladies record, they'd have the party record, and they'd have some real, some righteous shit on there. That's what they did. But once something like NWA and them really hit the mainstream, and they seen how much money you can make, then it became full tilt after that. Like, gangster rap is, they talk bad about it, but it was bringing in a lot of money, because that's what people was going through in their hoods. Like in L.A., they was going through that shit with gang wars over crack and shit like that, having turf wars. New York, same shit. They was going through it. Dudes was shooting up blocks over crack. Projects everywhere. The cats was murdering their best friends over crack. So that's what that's what people was seeing. So that's the stories they telling. Mm-hmm. What they doing it, they wasn't actually doing it, but they was actually telling you a story, painting you a picture of what goes on in these hoods. Like, and people didn't believe it. Like, people when them sit there, they're like, oh, it's violence, but it was not knowing that this shit was really going on. Like, coming from the product, being a product of that environment, you understand that this was really going on.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what. So they just telling you what they were seeing. Now, the part about where you let the white Jew dictate what to call their black women in music. So all of a sudden, whether you were poor, successful, a good woman, or spiteful, we were all lumped up as bitches and hoes and worthless, even while taking care of them and the children. Now I mean, and now that part didn't really, I wasn't too, it wasn't like outlandish compared to the first two statements of her
Right,
statement of this
right.
thing,
But I got
because
a
I can see
rebuttal
what
to that. I got a rebuttal to even to that. But go ahead. I'm with you
because
on that.
I was like, it's kind of, it was kind of true.
Mm-hmm.
It had truth to it, because
There's
at
a
the
lot
end
of
of the
truth
day,
to it.
because you know what I'm saying, the record industry is owned by white people, mainly Jewish people, and the entertainment business,
Mm-hmm.
and they told you this is what sell. But once again, what they used was the power of money. Like, hey, you on a record, say all that shit, talk about bitches and hoes and blunts and drugs. It
All that
sells.
stuff y'all do.
It sells.
Yeah.
You took the pain and sold it, and because they offered you an advance. Come on, you telling a kid 20 years old is 250,000 to make music, and
He
you
makes
know,
$5 million.
yeah,
So, but you're right. You make $5 million for
but
the company, and then they recouping the 250 that they gave you,
yeah,
and then they hitting you back with, like, based on your percentage points that's in your contract, which is like 12 points. So you walking away with like 100,000 or for $5
but
million.
in that point, yeah, that's and then you did, I mean, but like she's saying, the thing is, you saying the same way she's saying, well, all women were lumped up into bitches and hoes. It's the same way, but you're doing the same thing to black men.
Yeah, it was like all of y'all. Well, not well. That's what I said at the beginning. When you hear the statement, don't take it personal. Just listen to what the person said. So, okay, with all of that being said, with everything that she said, I mean, I get it. But then I saw a video the other day, of a man who was giving his lady, his wife, birthday present for his 3-year-old daughter. And he had a gift, and it had all these bags. She kept opening the bag for another bag, another bag. She opened like about 8 bags, and she she thought it was a present. And then when she got to the bottom, it was a letter. She opened up the letter, and it was DNA test results revealing that wasn't even his 3-year-old daughter. And the chick stood there and was like, "Yo, well, how could you do this on her birthday? How could you do this to me?" And he's like, "Yo, you cheated on me." I didn't cheat. I'm like, bitch, how the fuck you gonna say you ain't cheat? The man got a DNA test in your hand, and it ain't his. So who the fuck baby was it then? So when you start talking about grimy dudes, well, the people right there that she was complaining about, oh, bitches and hoes, that's a bitch right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the one who could have you thinking
though.
that that's your child for all these years, and then this is the same chick that's gonna bang you. Let's say you break up with her, she'll bang you, have you going 17, 18 years. In year 17, she'll file for child support in year 17. And the baby wasn't even yours, but because you was in a child's life all that time, you really gonna have to fight to not have to to pay the support. Like, it's wickedness out there. So when they say bitches ain't shit, that's who they talking about. They talking about the bitch in the video who would have this man thinking that that's his child, knowing that it ain't his.
That's the thing, I mean, wickedness coming in, whether you a man, whether you a woman, it don't matter. So, you know what I'm saying? The generalizations that she's making is what's incorrect in her vents, because you're venting on shit that you generalizing, man. You generalizing maybe off a bad experience that she's had. She's generalizing off of maybe what she's seen, because every person ain't the same. So, you know what I'm saying? But I get it when you talk about the music, everybody gets offended to the music, but shit, I remember growing when we was in college, and you go to a party and they put on the Snoop shit. Bitches ain't hoes, but the tricks.
Yeah, right.
The chicks was more hyped than the dudes was.
Yeah, wasn't that a weird dynamic? Yeah, when you see shit like that.
So again, so who was, you know what I'm saying? Were you offended by that when you was in the club listening to that music and dancing and getting your
Mm-hmm.
drink on and having a good time?
I don't think
You
they was listening to the lyrics then. They probably didn't listen to the lyrics until they got
Man, they was
older.
singing that shit
Yeah,
word
I
for
know.
word.
Yeah, they wwas singing it. You know how people they just memorize shit. They ain't thinking when they doing it. You know,
Son,
I'm a
they was
dumb
singing
bitch.
that shit,
I'm a
man.
dumb bitch. They just.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what I mean. Like, you wasn't offended then, but now, but then you turn around and want and blame it all on the music when
Yeah.
you participated in you participated in the shit. You
Yeah. Yeah.
participated in the music. You can't tell me there ain't been songs that just been downright degraded and motherfuckers have just participated in it because it's just entertainment. It was entertainment. Like, it
You
was
know,
entertainment.
she
You know what I'm
vented
saying?
so much. I think she gonna end up going outside her race. She tired.
Fine. I mean, she says she was just saying, she was trying to say a whole bunch of things and get it off her chest, and just said a whole lot. And it was just like, okay, you angry, you real angry right now. Like, you definitely angry, and you're going through something. You
Right.
had a bad experience with someone. You seen something. I don't know, but it triggered you, and you wrote this in anger, because you didn't write this in a clear space, in a clear headspace, to say to get your thoughts right, because you generalized a lot of this shit. And so some of it I can get with, but a lot of it I'm like, nah. You said some things that was pretty
Well, it
outside the
needed
box.
more context more than anything, for most of her statement. Although like I said, I get what she's saying on some, like with the music thing. I was there, but the other stuff I'm like, you need to rework that, like your thought
Word.
process, what you trying to say. And I understand in terms of men needing to step up and all of that. Like, I think that since she was talking about black men, I'm gonna keep it on black men. Like, okay, yeah, all right. So there are some of us that need to step up and need to do better. Now, what the flip side is that over the course of I ain't been here that long. So let's say over the course of 50 years, what we recognize as a role model in the community has changed.
Mm.
And if you didn't have a father in the home or some type of male influence, or uncle or godfather or something, to kind of guide you and steer you away from the traps, then you're gonna fall into the trap. And then what's gonna happen? You're gonna end up in prison. You're gonna end up, with no real schooling, to the game of life, and you just gonna be a pawn all your life. And then for the people who do get money and find a way to get out, they like, I ain't coming back to this shit, because of all of the, the negative connotations that come with living in poor communities. And it ain't just black people. This is poor people. Like, when you live in a hood, it's not just you. Like, I never been in a hood that it was just all black people. I'm talking about black poors. It's always going to be some people from somewhere else. Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, even though they all black and Indian. You know what I mean? In the bigger scheme of things. But to just lay it on us, like, I got what she was saying, but that was in response to something else. And I think maybe
Yeah,
she was being woman
but
bashed.
but then you look at her, what she has as her photo picture of her and Black Lives Matter slogan. BL.
See, I didn't
So
I didn't go there. I didn't look at that. So that kind
so
of changes my viewpoint
once
on
again,
where she came from then. She came from a place where they not really don't want the man in the okay, how do you all right, you don't want the man in the village, right? Per se. But then you going to bash us for not being a backbone, but you don't want us there. You can't have it both ways. You should have never told me that shit.
well,
I
I
wish
thought
you
you
did.
seen it.
I didn't
I
know. I
seen
didn't
it.
see the
That's
picture
why.
there.
That's
Yeah,
why I was.
BLM and all.
That,
Nah, man,
yeah,
that
that's
changes
why.
everything, man.
That's why I'm pretty like she's in.
Damn.
She is like a picture of her. a picture of her yelling and a background, and then it has yellow and Black Lives Matter. It looks like it has a woman yelling. So it's like, you know,
they have put women to the forefront of that movement, though. I must say that. You know, I've definitely seen that. You know, but what the optics on that also sends a message to say, well, where the brothers at? But when you look at the outline on the website, you know, about the movement, you know, it's really not talking about men in general. You know what I'm saying? They're just talking about the deaths of the men that keyed this, or the deaths of black people that keyed this movement. You know, so. But when you look at the guidelines, they're not really. No, I was told that men are in the village by default. Like, we know we did. This is about women's empowerment stepping up and coming into the forefront. That's what I was told. So I took that as, okay, being that I'm open-minded and because I love you and it's family, I'm going to view it this way. I'm going to really take the time to view it through that lens. Okay, so we in the village, and this is about black women stepping to the front and being the leaders of the movement for Black Lives Matter. Because, you know, and so now I went a little deeper, and I'm like, all right, well, true, black women are the creators of civilization, you know, the mothers of civilization. So I got that. So so that's how I was able to stay focused. But when I read shit like this, then I see the optics of that. They got some internal things going on too within Black Lives Matter, because you have some that are pure Marxism.
But the funny thing is, right, when you screaming Black Lives Matter, right, and you make a statement like that line we just talked about, they let white Jew dictate what to call their black women in music. Right now, you're letting black Jews dictate what you call your black man.
Wow. Yeah. How ironic is that?
That's where your money coming from.
Well, it's because what I was told growing up, whoever funds your venture, it's their venture. You're just the face of the venture. Even if you think it's yours.
Shit. That's like Nick Cannon. Like,
yeah.
He felt like he owned, like he was running around. He's a boss, but he didn't own the show.
Yeah.
You didn't own the show, because how could they just took the show from you, and you talking about give me back my show, and you realize you lost $500,000. Excuse me, you lost a $500 million show, but you ain't own it. They couldn't take it if you owned it. Just like Dave Chappelle, they couldn't take it if you owned the show. So who they replace you with now? Dave Chappelle, because they own his show too. They gonna do the same shit.
They own the right of that show. Yeah.
So, because Dave Chappelle, it was on Comedy Central.
Right.
And I believe Viacom and all them own that shit.
Yup. So whoever owns the show, whoever owns the broadcasting network,
you brought it to them.
The show. You brought it, and they paid you for it.
You brought it to them. They funded it, but now they own the rights to the show.
Right.
They own the rights to the show. Unless
if you gave that up.
You're just working to get it into where it becomes reruns and you get residuals. Right.
Which is the other side of the game. Right.
Yeah, which is the other side of the game. But in the basic scheme of it, you're not the owner of the show. You're a creator of it, but you ain't the owner.
So then what's the lesson?
You just created it for them, for their income. Because they're not going to greenlight your shit unless it go through one of their...
it has to go through one of their production houses.
Exactly. One of their production houses.
So
that's what I'm saying. So same thing with Black Lives Matter. You're being funded by that. You're being funded by that money too, and you're portraying that speech and towards it. But you know, you say it in subtle ways and do subtle things to basically exclude the black man.
Well, let me give you this scenario.
But when you get caught with your hand in the cookie jar, then it's like, no, we all in the village together. Okay.
Let me give you this scenario, because this relates to, you know, Nick Cannon, Dave Chappelle, or you know, in those scenarios, you have a show that you created and you did the legwork and you was out there doing your thing. Okay, somebody takes notice who's in the entertainment industry, and they come to you and they say, hey, I'll put you on my network. Here's X amount of dollars. Now, but in exchange, you have to give up something. So if whether it's publishing or creative control or when you broker that deal, you need to be mindful of how much you're giving up, because if you giving up more than half, then you don't own it anymore. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not in control. Now, if you make a deal, if you want all right, I give you 20% and I keep 80%, you still got to be mindful of, all right, you know what? I'm out of here. Like if Cannon owned his show, he was like, yo, you know what? I'm taking my show off your network. Yeah, like they couldn't fire you. They could drop your show from their network, but then you would just take your show and take it to another network. But since you don't own the show, they just keep it. They just threw your name on there. So you lost from the beginning.
You came to them with an idea. They gave you all these titles and cute jobs. So that's what you was. You the president of Nickelodeon, Teen Nickelodeon, and you this, and and you bringing all your
presidents get fired, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
People should understand that. Voted out. They get voted out too.
And we gave you. You got this show. Because you making money for them. It's all good when you making money for them. It's all great. It's all great when you making that bread. But you know what I'm saying? Like you said, okay, well, you're not sitting at a table like how Master P sat at the table and said, I need that 80-20. I just need distribution. But I own all my shit. I want all my shit. I want all my masters. I want everything. I own that shit.
No doubt. I mean, you got to be able to negotiate.
Same thing. Dave Chappelle, you didn't own your shit. That's why when they came to you telling you they got some creative differences and they wanted to change shit, they thought this would be a little more funnier. They wanted you to do more silly coon shit. You didn't like that shit, but they they was willing to give you.
Yeah, I lost you for a second.
Hello? They was willing to give you.
Yeah, as we wait for Bobby May to come back on. Basically that's the lesson that needs to be learned. You have to be able to have creative control over your show. And if you don't, you have to be able to negotiate what you're going to give up. So you can't be out there giving up all of your show because you want to get it back. Yeah, I was telling the people, until you came back, what you was, actually putting out there saying. The creative control aspect.
Yeah, basically you got to have creative control. And he didn't have that. You could pitch what you wanted to do. They'll let you do because it works. You bring in the money. But you don't own the show. Same thing with Dave. What I was saying about Dave Chappelle was that when they wanted more control over his show, so that's why they was giving him more money. We'll pay you more money to be, But he didn't take the money. He wanted the show. He wanted to still keep control of being creative on the show. So that's why,
You say he turned down the 50 million.
He turned down $50 million. He turned down the $50 million so he can, because, he didn't want to do the shit they wanted him to do. But he didn't own it. They were like, you can walk away, but we're going to keep the show.
And they did.
They did. And they run that shit on rerun and they get their bread back over it because people watch it faithfully. And
he gets his, whatever deal he negotiated for the reruns, whatever that is, because that's a contract thing. He gets residuals as well, but not like they do.
Yeah.
Well, that's just how the game goes. When you got to read the contract, there's 100 points, and how many of them are you getting? That's what you need to be focused on before you start signing your life away. You don't even know whether you're signing your life away. That's like us. Somebody came with the bag, they want to put us on a different platform. I mean, we on every damn platform, but if they want to give you money, say, we want y'all to do this full time, do it all the time. We give y'all, $20 million. All right, well, okay, that's a lot of money that you want to give up. What do you want in return? That's where the negotiation comes in. One thing is for sure, you can't give up the creative control to anybody, because once they own your show, they're going to funnel money to push you out from the show that you owned, and you're done. and they took an idea that made money, and then they'll push it. They'll just add another face because the format is the format. But what most people never really understand is the synergy that takes place between people and their audience, or if it's two people like you and I, like there's a synergy there. Like we could bounce ideas off each other. But you see how they break up hip hop groups? Like groups, they break them up because it's like, well, you're the star, and well, you don't need the other person, and that's like bullshit. Like, don't fall for that okie doke shit. Now, granted, you'll get more money being by yourself, but if it's negotiated properly and y'all have a plan, y'all can both take your little 25 cent. I get 25 cent. At least we got 50 cent on a dollar. But on the bigger scale, dudes is getting 25 cent off of a $15 project. What the fuck is that? Like, you really jerking yourself from the beginning.
Well, see, that's what like in her statement, where she's saying that that they let them do this. What they did was they threw that man back in the day was big. It was a signing bonus. That's what everybody lived to do in the beginning, to get that big signing bonus. Smart dudes didn't take signing bonuses. They made a deal with their signing bonus like, this is mine. I don't gotta pay you back nothing.
Yep.
So give me less, and now we call it that. But when they gave like, this dude signed for $1 million up front, you gotta pay that back.
Yeah, and you do.
You gotta
in
pay
more
that
ways
back.
than one. That's for sure.
You gotta pay that back. You paying it back through your record sales. You paying that back through shows. You paying that back through a lot of shit. So,
especially
they flash
today.
that money. They flash that money in their face, and dudes coming from poverty is like, shit.
You came from nothing, and you got a guy in an office or a female in the office, whatever, get ready to write you a check for $5 million. You know what I mean? Like, it's a check for $5 million.
That wasn't even $5 million, bro.
I'm saying right now. I'm saying general.
They don't even give people $5 million right now. You had a better luck doing that when you first came back and when we was coming up.
Right.
Now, shit, they don't give you no money. You got to do your own shit. You know what I'm saying? You got to push your own. You got to be able to have a package with you. What they want now is the package pretty much completed. Like, you already got a buzz.
That's a sham. He's like, hold on, I'm going to do all the work, I'm going to package it up, and then I'm going to bring it to you so you can market me. Like, come on, man, you got to do.
But that's what a lot of dudes like.
Basically, we should, all right, so then let's do a marketing deal then. You don't need to be on a label. You need a marketing deal.
Well, you got to get somebody to distribute the music.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do a distribution and marketing deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, do one of those then.
Yeah.
If I'm going to bring you the package just for you to go and distribute and market my shit, like why would I sign my royalties away to you? You just distribute it. Yeah, you get a cut because you're a distributor. You get a cut because you're a marketer, but I'm not giving you my publishing. I'm not doing that. Like, you bugging. A lot of dudes didn't,
a lot of dudes didn't know if they was going to sell. So if a dude would be like, yo, I'm going to give you $100 for your publishing. Like, 100 G's?
You got to bet on yourself, though, man. You can't 100 G's. Son.
You know where we from. Dudes ain't turning down no 100 G's when they living on Nostrand Ave, and they coming off Franklin or Brownsville. They coming from Harlem, out of the projects. They coming from the Bronx. They coming from Queens, Staten Island, wherever. They ain't turning down 100 G's. They ain't turning that down. They ain't gonna turn that money down.
100 G's in 1993. Okay, I mean, I'm with you.
They ain't gonna turn that shit down, bro. They was all over that shit. Then and the money got more and more till after the 2000s. I mean, by then dudes was getting $2 million, $3 million, $5 million signing bonuses up front.
Right. Well, advanced.
They were selling. Yeah, they was getting that money. They was getting money. They was getting tours. They was doing everything. There was a lot of money circulating when CDs was out.
Oh, no doubt.
You know what I'm saying? That dudes made those dudes from that golden era. A lot of them should have made a lot of money, especially if you was a writer for other people.
If you was writing, then that's residual money for the rest of your life. That's what I'm saying. You can't give that up. That's what you're giving up, the publishing. Like,
But
if I write something, you think,
dudes
hold
wasn't
up,
betting
you
on
think I'm
themselves.
going to go sit in an office, right, or wherever, I'm going to go write songs, and you going to recoup what I write? Come on, man.
Yeah, son.
I know, but
Come on,
that was the game.
you saying like it's not, but that's
I
what
know
dudes was
it
doing,
happens. I know it
and they
happens.
still doing it right
They
now.
still doing it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
well, you know.
Just like Nick Cannon did. Shit.
Well, then learn the game, y'all.
You know what I'm saying?
Be
Like, no,
independent, and you got to push a little harder to market it. But at the end of the day, it's
that's
yours.
why. That's why when somebody like you see when Diddy saying, "Oh, bring your come to revolt." He can't go nowhere. He don't own the show, and he probably probably in his contract he can't make another. He probably got some type of clause in there where he can't go nowhere and make another show that would compete with that show because they own the rights to the ideas and the rights to that shit. You know what I'm saying?
You went deep on that one because that's real shit.
So it's like, you know what I'm saying? He can't do nothing. That's why he doing what he doing now, trying to humble himself and apologize and do all this shit with rabbis and shit.
But see, now the apology tour stuff is played out. You know what I'm saying? Because let me put it like this: if you speak the truth, excuse me, not the truth, because the truth is what somebody believes to be true. When you speak facts, facts they hold the weight and the test of time. So what they said was factual. So why would you go around apologizing for factual information? Like, you look weak. Like, and nobody needed to hold him up to be a pillar for black revolutionaries. It wasn't about that. We just talking about people that speak facts. So when you speak your facts, you don't have to apologize for speaking them. Now, if you work for somebody else and they get offended by your facts, then yes, the consequence of those facts being presented to that employer is they have the right to let your ass go. Okay? That's part of the game, which they did. Now, you know this already. That you know this going in. So, with all of that being said, stand strong on your square. Say what you need to say. If it's factual, you don't have to debate nobody. You don't have to apologize. And even if you did apologize, say, well, you know what? I'm sorry if it offended you, but this is what it is. This is the truth. You know, you're a subspecies of us. We're the original man. You're us. You know, you came from the caves and you migrated into this, and your lack of melanin has caused basically a bunch of rage in your people, because when you look at civilization over centuries, over thousands of years, just look at the transformation of what has happened. Every place that this group of people go, there's turmoil, chaos, and mayhem. Like, that's not an accident. And they said it was true. Like, they always in survival mode. Because if civilization is thriving and you coming out the caves, you dragging your knuckles, and everybody's walking around on all tools, how are you gonna fit in? You look different than everybody else. The species is the species. You a mutation. Over time, that's just how it go. So the rabbis, I don't know. They don't want to debate Farrakhan. They don't want to do that. So, I mean, we ain't going to never get nowhere. You hate the man because he spoke his truth. Excuse me. He spoke his facts, and it bothers you. Like, if you're going to start talking about the original man and this and that, that needs to be put out there so our children's children can understand where they came from. It's not this slave narrative and we all came over here on boats. I thought about that shit earlier, too, about the boats, I was like, you know what kind of boats did we have coming over here anyway? You know what I mean? They wasn't motorized, so it must have took months, to get over here. And this shit like that, like, this is the shit that comes through my brain, like, well, where are the ships? You know what I'm saying? Like, the ones that, like, you got to have ships, right, to prove that there was, being transporting people, right? Like, you got to have the ships. And then, forget about the Caucasian, the European that was brought over here, because who you think was getting brought over here first? Like, white cargo. Like, that's a real book. Like, that's something that you need to read. You need to read White Cargo. You need to read The Iceman Inheritance. When you read these books written by Caucasian people, don't just read books written by black people. Read books written by everybody. As long as they dropping facts, that's all that matters. Then you have a starting point. You don't have to go with religious doctrine and dogma. Like, no, let's stick to anthropology and stick to science. It will tell you everything that you need to know, without all of the other stuff that gets thrown into there. So he was never somebody to look up to. He's an entertainer. We said this about a couple of months ago on another show. Entertainers get checks. And when you get checks and they big, then there's big problems that come from you trying to go against the narrative, trying to go against the grain that they put out there for you. You make them money. You already packaged and sold. He came into the game packaged and sold from a little child. Well, not a child, but as a teenager, 19, 20 years old. He's 39. So you 20 years in. You already bought and sold. So, but you want to be, all right, you got an enlightenment, and you're like, oh, okay. So if you know what time it is, how you going to sit there in front of a rabbi and let him tell you that what you said wasn't true? And you know it's true. And that's, don't be weak like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not bashing on that brother. Like, he got a long way to go. But me at 39, I'm thinking like, yo, that wasn't that long ago. I'm not apologizing for some factual statements. You know what I mean? Like, all right, it's all in the delivery. You can offend somebody. Everybody gets offended today. If I say, you know what, I don't like pink shirts. I don't like how them shits look. Somebody might get offended by that. Like, that's just the world we live in. But it's a harsh reality that we got to deal with. I seen this, they got the 1619 project that they've been working on. At least they trying to come from an angle of struggle and fighting for your rights. And, like, people died. You know what I mean? Like, they're not trying to paint it as, oh, this is one weak group of people and we just took them over. It wasn't like that. Because when you go in history and you look back, like, the same thing could be said about the Europeans. The Moors ruled Europe 700 years. Yeah, that's a long-ass time. You know what I mean? But in history, that ain't shit. That's a blip on a radar for real. Like, that's real talk. But for us, shit, what? I'm 50 years, and 50 years ain't shit. We just got the right to vote 50 years ago. I mean, in 1965, man. And then they telling you they gotta vote every 25 years on a piece of, it's an act. They have to vote on an act so they can enforce it, so your vote won't get suppressed legally by the people in control. And they still gotta do that shit every 25 years. So the Voting Rights Act, 1965. That's not a long time ago. At the same time that all that bullshit was going on, you had the eugenics program in North Carolina going on, like a legal state-sponsored program. 1930 to 1977, they was killing babies. They was sterilizing women legally. So you got all of that going. Oh, and then let's not forget that they had Jim Crow then. So you got Jim Crow, housing discrimination, racial discrimination, eugenics, and your ass can't vote without being suppressed. They killing people at the voting polls. So now when you start looking at all of these people who've been in office 40, 50, 60 years, you were the benefactor of some of that damn suppression. And now people are just waking up now and they tired. So now they about to vote a lot of these old motherfuckers out of office. Some 75-year-old people, been in office 40, 50 years. Yeah, your ass is up out of here. It's a new day. But coming behind them is the younger generation. And so we got to check them. You got to see where people truly are. Did they grow up the same way? Did they grow up thinking that, oh, black people ain't shit and we going to keep them down? Did they grow up like that? You know what I mean? Like, when you start digging into people's personal beliefs and what they've been indoctrinated in growing up, you'd be surprised what you learn about a person. So media being controlled by, basically a small group of people, they just throw shit on TV, man. You see it enough. If I never had to encounter a Caucasian person in my life, I would base it on what I saw on television. Then when I saw them, I guess I would see a character on the television. I mean, it works both ways. You know, the same way we have stereotypes. They have stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I mean, I've seen some of their shows. You know, you look at them like, I don't know nobody like that. All of the Caucasian dudes that I know, you know, they, you know, I don't know, what you call it, middle income, you know,
I mean,
people.
I just, you know,
I don't know no wealthy Caucasians. I mean, I don't.
I mean, I just, you know, I think that, you know, it's just when you say these things, and if you don't, like, when you say, for you to be able to say the things he said, you know, like, you felt comfortable. So you thought that you was in, and, you know, you thought that you were in with these people.
Right.
And they got to show you, they got to make an example of a so-called rich nigga, because you niggas is getting.
Well, we
out
made
line.
you.
But what I'm saying is exactly. So they got to make an example out of him, because he's a so-called rich and successful Negro.
Didn't it look sad? The apologetic tone that he took, you know, when interviewing the rabbi, you know.
I mean,
I
didn't really see it. I just read.
I didn't see the whole interview, but I watched a portion.
I read the statement he made.
You read you read the statement, but when I watched the interview, it was more like, oh, you were just being enlightened to it. Like, Negro, are you serious? You don't know nothing about the Holocaust? Like, come on, man. Like, you ain't that young. That they bombarded that shit into our heads for like 15, 20 years.
Like, that's what I'm saying, son. Like, I mean, listen, he realized that money train is gone. All his money is tied up with these people. He's worked for Fox, and he worked for Viacom. All his money tied up with them
That's
people.
The big dogs, yeah.
So all your bread tied up with these people. Your kids' money tied up with these people. You gotta make it. You gonna have. You know how it go.
Your ex-wife tied up with them people.
you know they gotta snip your balls, bro. They gotta cut your balls.
And on TV.
They gotta spade you. Humble yourself before them. Apologize, and then they extort you for the money to. You gave a nice, generous donation that they gave you a figure here we go. We're going to need you to say you donated that, or, you know, give it to one of our charities, but it's really money to go in their pockets to say you're sorry. And don't do that again.
I'm paying you to say that I'm sorry, basically.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You want to get back on TV, they think you're going to have to give them a couple mil. You know, it was undisclosed how much the donation was.
Well, then how about this? With all of the platforms that's out here, you know, there are people that are creating their own platforms, you know, now at this point. You know, you don't have to go on to the main big dogs. Like, okay, like, granted, our show is on, you know, all the big dogs. But at the same time, if we had to have a way out, we have a backdoor exit. You know, you have to have that. So, but we're not dealing with, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars. You know, at the same time, like, this dude, you all in. They, like you said, your money is tied up generation-wise, you know, all over the place. But, you know, even if you felt that way, that you could feel that comfortable to say what you need to say, you shouldn't have to apologize once you say it, if it's factual. I mean, I've built with, you know, Caucasians before, and we've had talks on history, and, you know, it wasn't, like, once people don't like to talk about that. They don't want to talk history, politics, or religion. You know, those are three taboo subjects between people from different parts of the species, or if you want to say races, whatever, you know. But those things are taboo because they force people to dig into what they've been taught to believe and what is actually so, and they don't always go together. You know, and it crushes people.
Yeah, because the stories don't align.
Yeah.
The stories in the textbooks don't align with what they know, because they never had to go outside the textbooks to find their history.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So,
but we have your
whatever,
history. We know where you came from.
But I mean, you in a country that still tells you that Christopher Columbus discovered it, and they know he didn't.
Yeah, and they run it like that, you know.
And
so
they still having sales on Christopher Columbus Day.
And car sales. Get
exactly.
a car.
So
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So what is it really about? That's what I'm saying. They don't. It's not about. Is a way for the people to spend money. That's one, and it's a way to keep beating you in the head. But you know this ain't true. You know this ain't true, and the people know this ain't true. Because once again, it's just common sense. You can't find something that somebody was already on. That's like me coming to your house. That's like me coming to your house. I walk in your house and be like, yo, this is nice. Found this shit. It's my crib. Look what I found, y'all. Got me a nice crib out here in Harlem, yo. Yeah, this is nice. I found this shit. You work for me now, see? In your crib. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You work for me. I'm in your crib, my feet up. You work for me. You and your family work for me. I found your crib. What?
Right.
How does that even make fucking sense? You know?
Yeah.
Like, and if you dig, you know, if you go deeper, the truth is there. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's just a matter of how if you want the truth. People don't want the truth. They want to keep living in the fantasy they've been living in because it makes them safe. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that applies to us too, because you know some of us are doing pretty well, living under the fantasy of false information. So, and there's a lot of infighting going on. I look, all of us have never all been together. Like, that's not how it is. Like, like-minded people come together, but this whole narrative of we all got to get together, man, if you're waiting for that, then shit, you're going to be waiting for a long time, because that's just not how things work. Like, you only need a certain group of people to grow their section of a population, and then they live amongst themselves, and then they become self-sufficient. Like, that's what they do. I'm not going to be able to walk outside today and be like, you know what, I don't like the president, or I don't like my congressman or my whatever, and I'm like, yo, come on, let's vote for this person, let's vote for that person. You're not going to find a majority of people that's going to be on board with what you're trying to do. They like the person that's in office because they have benefited from it. They could fight all day, but they be like, you know what, it's not so bad. Like, there are people that'll tell you that, and it's crazy to me. So, as crazy as that sounds, the unity that people are struggling to build, it's just not there. Like, community don't exist in a lot of areas, and it's done that way on purpose. Just the way the real estate thing is done. Redlining.
Let's keep it all the way. You gotta look at it, keep it all the way true. Anything that you say, anything you say or speak about it, the first word about Jewish people is, and they don't like it, they immediately call you anti-Semitic. You anti-Semitic. You anti-Semitic. You don't like. You know what I'm saying? So and it's like, oh, and even when you break it down and you just saying it, this is what we know.
This is what the facts are.
Like, you talking,
if
like,
there's 30 NBA teams and 14 of them are Jewish owners, then what does that tell you? That 45% of the league is owned by Jewish owners. Okay, and then 80% of the players are black,
and the commissioners have been Jews.
Right. So then,
Jews. But once again, but again, it's like, okay, so it's like when you tell people who grew up in Crown Heights or anywhere in Brooklyn or anywhere in New York, and they make their statements and they talk about the Jewish community, and they say, this and that, they own the property, and you did buy up all the property. And nobody's faulting you for that. You took advantage of the system because you had the power to do that. You understand? And then they
also took up the SNAP benefit system.
Exactly, but they don't talk about that. But they'll continually say that it's black and brown that's it has.
I got numbers. You know, it's
But
it's
I
9
know,
million.
but
9
what I'm
million
saying to you,
Caucasians.
they're not going to tell you how they take advantage of that part of the system
Word.
because the system don't put that number out there. They only put out the numbers that show you that black and brown are the majority in the city or some shit like that.
Until
and it's
you
not
pull it
true.
up yourself.
Exactly. Then you
gotta,
see that
you gotta pull it up yourself.
Again, it's who's generating the narrative, who's telling the story.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? And then when you point these factors out, oh, you anti-Semitic.
It gets quiet. Well, that's
no,
first
you
thing.
anti-Semitic.
You anti-Semitic once you keep going. Once you start digging, and you say, hey, you know, half of the league is owned by Jews and
I don't even listen. I don't gotta talk about. I can tell you just from growing up in Brooklyn.
Absolutely.
The run-ins, how they run, what they do.
I see it all day.
All day. Like, I mean, come on. You come down. What is it? You could come down. What is?
Come down Eastern Parkway.
Come down Eastern Parkway. Turn down Kingston. Turn down Troy. Turn down President. Whatever street you want to turn down. Right.
Right.
Bring your ass down there. Bring your ass down Schenectady.
No, give him a long stretch. Give him from Utica to Empire.
No. Well, I'm gonna tell you, come down from Schenectady down. Ooh. On those streets at nighttime at about 12, getting off wherever. Come out of the train station or somewhere, walking down the hill or some shit late at night.
Yeah, who you gonna run into?
You gonna run into what we call the Jewish police.
No doubt.
They be in cars deep, and they be shooting rubber bullets at your ass.
Oh, and they got sirens on their car too.
Exactly. Like, fucking, you can't tell us our experience and tell us then that when we talk about it and say, oh no, that's anti-Semitic. Nah, motherfucker, that's truth. I've walked down these. I lived in there. I lived over there.
You live right there. You know.
Right there. And I'm walking down these streets, like, plenty of nights. Me and my man, we coming from up the hill, walking back. You know, in the summertime, we walking in Brooklyn. You know, you could walk from Franklin. You could walk down from. You could be on Franklin.
You walk from Bed-Stuy to Crown Heights.
Exactly. You walk from the Heights to Bed-Stuy. You can walk back from Crown Heights to East Flatbush.
No doubt.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, at nighttime, you coming down them neighborhoods. Listen, bruh. You bet it's on.
It's on because they deep.
They rolling deep, car deeps. These are niggas, and most of these motherfuckers, ex-military motherfuckers. They're jumping out on you from over in Israel.
Yup.
All right, so let's be clear. These are ex-military. So they've got the walkie-talkies and shit.
Yeah, that's how they communicate with each other.
Exactly. They be driving and then they'll try to cut you off. The one motherfucker's coming down chasing you. Another motherfucker, as soon as you get to another block, another motherfucker's trying to come down, jump out on you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you real shit.
That's real.
I'm telling you shit actually me and my mans and them having to run.
No doubt.
You understand? Like, this shit really goes on. You know what I'm saying? This is what was going on in the 90s. Because, you know, it was a lot of shit going on back in the 90s.
Yeah,
when when it boiled over.
Yeah.
And, you know, you had plenty of incidents. You had an incident where my cousin, he got beat up at the train station.
Mm-hmm.
They same thing, coming out and they beat him up. Lumped him up. Him and his man. Right. And then that's what started that shit back then too. Cause then motherfuckers then black people retaliated.
They started up on them.
Exactly. They started waiting for them at the train stations and pounding them out. And that's what led to, we need to sit down if we gonna do this and that. Because shit was gonna get out of hand. Shit was getting out of hand.
It was already out of hand.
Because motherfuckers was really like, fuck that. Y'all want it? We want it too. So this is what I'm saying. Like, these type of things happen. And this is black people's experiences in these neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? And the same thing now. Now they don't even do that. They just coming through, regentrifying and taking over all of Brooklyn, pushing is out. And what they doing is putting their families in them. They don't even rent to black people.
Yeah, they don't.
They be like
a lot of them don't.
You got
Most of them
750.
do.
You got to have a 750 credit score to rent from them.
Maybe. And
Maybe.
you have 800, and they still could say
they
no.
They still won't rent to you.
It's their spot.
Exactly. So they're not going to rent to you. They don't rent to you. They don't rent to black people. They don't rent to Hispanic people. They don't do that. They don't. This is how they. That's exactly. So these are the experiences that happens in these places. And when we talk about it, it's the same. Just like they wanted to shut down Eastern Parkway on Labor Day.
Right.
But motherfuckers was like, that ain't gonna happen. People was like, we know. But what they do, they compromised and got a curfew. Got shut down by 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, yeah. On the day of the parade, yeah.
On the day of the parade, got to be closed. It got parade festivities over 8 o'clock. You remember that shit run all night when we
all
was growing
day. That matter of fact, that was a 3-day thing.
Exactly.
It was Friday,
Saturday.
Started from
Saturday.
Yeah,
it started Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Saturday morning. It was Saturday, Sunday, and culminated with Monday. And the parade still didn't used to end to like almost midnight.
To midnight, because they be jamming in the street all night when we was young.
The last float was coming through, like 11:30, 12 o'clock by the time it finished. It was crazy, man. But now, 8 o'clock? Come on, man. 6 o'clock?
I came home. I was home when I came home the other day. And I was down there. We went through. I was cutting through. I was coming from the airport, and then I ain't drove in a minute in New Yiddy, and I had the GPS shit took me all the way through Williamsburg or some shit to get down to. And I mean, I used to go to Williamsburg.
No doubt.
Now Williamsburg is a whole different place. I mean, white Jewish people used to live out there, but now they own the whole shit. They even bought up the shop. They took over a project.
They always had that project though. They always had that. I
remember them always having that project.
Yeah, they always. I know what you're talking about.
I remember that shit. I thought Spanish motherfuckers used to live in there.
Nah, when you come off the Williamsburg Bridge, they always had that project right there. They had a building. They always had that. Because then there was another project down there. It had a lot of Hispanics in there.
Not no more.
Yeah, there's all them. Like they own that. And then when you go behind in the back of Williamsburg, they got a bunch of restaurants and stuff back there. Now they own all that too.
All that shit. I seen all that shit.
It's crazy back there too.
Crazy back there.
Because if you go back there at night, like first of all, it's dark, right?
Dark as shit.
It'd be dark as shit for like 2 or 3 blocks, and then when you get to where the restaurants and shit is at, it opens up like it's Manhattan. And it's just bright lights like, oh, shit, what the hell is this? And you back there like, wow, okay. But when you leave the area, what does it turn into? Dark and dreary looking. Like, you know what, you got to get the hell up out of here because it's industrial.
Yeah, it's industrial back there.
So, but that's how, they own that section. Like, look, man, it's like the Italians was in Bensonhurst. Like, it is what it is. South Ozone Park. Well, excuse me, not South Ozone Park. Howard Beach. Howard Beach, Bensonhurst, like that's how it is. In New York City, man. New York is mad segregated. Like, people don't understand that. Like they think like, yeah, it's a melting pot. No, it's a melting pot within a certain perimeter of boundaries.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's a sundown town though. Like it's sundown areas.
But it's different. But it's different though because you see. The more the neighborhoods we grew up in and all that shit, black people getting pushed out of them.
We was on prime real estate. We didn't know.
Yeah, we didn't. Just like people didn't know the brownstones and Bed-Stuy and Fort Greene was prime real estate.
Oh, they wanted those. Some people held on and they kept them.
Some people did. Yeah, some people some young cats still bought some. And things like that. I know a few people who got spots down there.
Yeah, I know some. They benefited that longevity.
Yeah, longevity.
The people that they came under was alive long enough to pass it down to them, and then they kept it. They were smart.
Yeah, like families kept it.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know what I'm saying? And then now they remodeled them shits and looking fabulous and all that. But like we always talk about how the projects downtown Brooklyn, all them things again. You know, they pushing them out of there because that's
trying.
prime
They've
real
been
estate.
trying for a while. They
But I
gonna
mean,
get some buildings.
but there's one half of, but if the part that over towards the water, when you're looking at the, I believe that's the, what's that, the BQE?
Yep.
Going towards, right there, that section of that, I forgot, what are those, Fort Greene projects?
That's Fort Greene over there.
That back portion,
the back
right
portion
there,
of Fort
empty.
Greene.
It's empty.
Absolutely.
It's empty.
That's what
Cleared
they're
out.
Changing the windows and all
They in
that.
there fixing it up, taking out the windows and all that shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's prime real estate. You're looking at water. You're looking at the water now.
Yeah.
You got a view of the water or the Hudson or whatever that shit is. You know what I'm saying? So that's prime real estate. They ain't even, when you late on your rent, don't worry about it. You ain't coming back. You're out. You know what I'm saying?
Or they giving you the bullshit $10,000 buyout. You know,
there you go.
Like giving you $10,000.
Go find something new, but it ain't gonna be here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, we went all over the place tonight, but I guess, you know, that's what you got to do. You know, on the check-in, like this ain't, you know, this is just a check-in. You know.
Yeah, we just chopping it up.
Just chopping it up. You know,
just some interesting thoughts of some shit that been going on, and just had to you know, just put something down because it's a lot going on, and a lot of untruths is being told. And people are just falling for it. And, like, a lot of people just, you don't got your third eye open. You're not using your common sense. And, you know, you just being led along like sheep and cattle and just being told what to do and not, you know what I'm saying? Man is supposed to question anything. Supposed to question all things. That's what you hear. That's what questions are made for. Question shit. You can't just go along with shit and believe that everybody has your best interest. These people don't have your best interest at heart. That's just not how this capitalistic society works. Like, you better go back and study Darwinism and all that shit. And you better find out
Marxism too. While you're at it,
yeah, you better figure out all that socialism and everything. Like, you got to figure out what it is. Like, you in a capitalist society, but the people. You know, those that are getting rich off capitalism, they want to keep it. Those who don't want it is bucking it for socialism and other shit. Whatever other bright ideas and new other shit they thinking they could come up with.
Well, the main goal of capitalism is to support your own people, whoever that is. You know, the idealism.
I think that's been gone. That's not there.
I'm talking about the idealism. Forget, like, you know,
capitalism. That idealism is dead. That's
it's dead, right? They dead at that. You sound crazy when you try to push people to support. You know, like, as crazy as that sounds.
Like, capitalism could be used in the right. If it's used in the right way, it can help your people. Right?
I think, that's what I mean. So even if you're in a capitalist society, if you support your people, we all could get money.
Yeah, but it doesn't work like that, unfortunately, in our community.
The application is wrong. It's just how they do it.
Well, I think it's in the way it's capitalism and what people's views of it now is, and what they think it is every man for themselves. Get yours, I got mine. And, you know, just basically use and abuse weaker people. Like, step on the weak to get to the top. Don't matter what you got to do.
That's
you know
crazy.
what I'm saying? Crush,
you know, you're right.
Crush them. Crush whoever you got to get to what you want. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's no...
Yeah, you'll get there by yourself, and then you'll fall by yourself.
Exactly, but that's what they don't... That's what people don't understand. So they're not gonna be like, oh, okay... You know, find out what the real meaning of it is or what the real value of capitalism is. Instead, they're going to go by what they think it means, which is every man for themselves, survival of the fittest, all that, you know, all that shit. That's what I'm saying. Like, you got to understand where they getting this English, where they getting this lingo, and where they getting these thoughts from, and you know, the hierarchy, pyramids, and shit like that you were taught in college. And shit, like, even in high school, you was taught that shit. You know? Right. You know, but if you was, you know, they taught you that pyramid, but if you fuck with, you know, the hood, and, you know, our shit is the triangle, basically, food, clothing, and shelter. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
it.
That's
Right.
it.
Food, clothing, and shelter.
You know what I'm saying?
And how do you maintain that? You maintain that with bread.
Yeah, so you know what I'm
You
saying?
need money to maintain food, clothing, and shelter.
So you know what I'm saying? But, you know, so
I will put it to you like this: this is the mentality that got to change. You know, if you get 25, 30,000, right? Let's just use that as a small figure. You know, it's 25, 30,000 one time, one shot, boom. You know, instead of going out and buying, you know, jewelry and cars, yo, go buy a piece of property and lay a foundation down for your future. Pay your taxes on the property, you know, little 5, 10 years ahead, you know, have it in escrow. Like, start building, because a car ain't worth shit once you take it off the lot. Like, it ain't. That's reality. It depreciates immediately.
You know,
a car should be A to B shit. Like, that's what all it's supposed to be.
I know. Because I used to be an auto adjuster.
You already know what it is. Like, you taking losses on a car.
When you tell people like, yo, you should depreciate as soon as you drove it off the lot. Like,
you paid 45, 50,000 for that car. Like, and I got a 12-year-old car. My car's still out here, and your shit is gone. You know what I mean? Like, because it's the value. When you place money over everything, you gonna lose. It's just like, you know what pissed me off? I know basketball started back, but, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic still. Like, people are still dying. They still don't have no real, or most people, they don't have a cure or, you know, a way to fix it right now. They ain't gonna never be a cure, but the vaccine, I mean, they don't have anything to stop the spread right now. So if you know it's dangerous like that, where they don't know if they're gonna send kids back to school, how are we out here playing professional basketball, baseball, and then you know you on TV and you're playing these games? The league is 80% black. The NBA. Why the fuck are y'all playing? Because the only thing that's at stake, really, in reality, because now these are the summer months. They don't get paid in the summer anyway, unless you stretch your money out that way. However, you know, here's the real issue. It should really irk my soul. It's 80% black, and the only reason you're playing is because this CBA that you're currently under will fold, and then you will have to come back to the negotiating table for next season. Now, isn't that more important than risking infection and death and the optics of spreading the disease? Even though you're in a bubble, it don't matter. Like, the optics that you're sending, there's people that's still home not going to work because it's a pandemic, but the league is 80% black, and y'all still going out there playing for massa. Y'all looking fucking sick. And then the people that's supporting it, watching the NBA, fuck the NBA. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how I feel, because it's like, yo, what message y'all sending? Like, people still dying, people still home, you know, they not working.
Well, they kneeling.
And they kneeling and shit, you know, like, who gives a fuck? Like, yo, it's people still dying from this shit, and y'all going and y'all playing because Massa says so. Because that's what it looks like at the end of the day. Like, baseball, too. Like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Whole teams, 17, 18 players on one team getting it. You know, and now you canceling games. Already, when I thought about it, like, they made it a 60-game season because that is the point where they could still make money. Anything after 60 games, they wasn't going to make no money. So that's why they just shut it down like that. So then here I'm looking at the NFL, same shit. Mostly black players, 70%. You know, but there's always somebody behind you that want to, they getting good money. All right, is it worth your risk of health? Is it worth that? Is it worth dying? Especially, the NFL is a little tricky. You know, don't got guaranteed money. The NBA players got their bread. So if the CBA is violated and they got to come back to the table for next season, then so what? What is y'all playing for? They look mad weak right now. They made up this whole shit, got them in a bubble. They suckers, man. Like, and you know what? They're gonna crown the champion. I mean, if they can finish it out, but they just look. You know what I mean? Like, you could have. Like, I just remember when Donald Sterling was, and they threw their jerseys in the middle of the court. It's the same shit, dog.
Well, who was on that team?
I know. I'm just saying.
Who was on that team?
Doc and Chris Paul and them. And Chris Paul is a players union, and
president.
you the president. You the president of the players union.
He was the main one pressuring them.
And you pressuring them to play the games, and you already got your real bread. You getting $40 million? Yeah, you're wilding. And people following that, and that's the example that you want to go by. And and if you supporting that shit by tuning into the game, boosting the ratings from the Nielsen boxes, that they seeing who tuned in, and you support that shit, then you part of the problem too, because people are still dying. Like, fuck a NBA game. I ain't watching that shit. I ain't moved. I haven't been moved yet. I need to be moved emotionally to watch the shit. But I can't watch it in the middle of a pandemic where the shit is still real out here. Like, y'all playing games, and y'all could have really shut it down, like showed the world, like, nah, this shit is more important than a fucking basketball game. For me to go out and make money for these owners, and if we don't play, we just got to come up with a new collective bargaining agreement? So what? What the fuck, man? That shit was on my heart, man. That's it. I don't know. I be seeing online, everybody, they a little happy. I see clips and teams is winning games. Like, I don't give a fuck about none of that shit, man. It's like, fuck that.
I looked at it, right? I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I found it kind of. It was like
I wasn't moved, my brother.
Yeah, it was like I wasn't in sync, because it's like, it's bigger shit on the table, but cats be like, they just be so happy and shit. You'd be like, I just look and watch and see what these other people are doing and saying, and just be laughing, because I'm like, okay. Did you hear the other day, Dr. Fauci and Trump, they met, and Fauci now talking about we might have to wear goggles and shit. So now the risk factor has been elevated, right? By a person, and whether you like him or not, he's a medical authority that they putting in our face. So because he was flip flopping on the mask use earlier in the beginning. So now, if you saying you got to wear a mask and you got to wear goggles, right? That means the rate and risk of infection is going to rise, and there's going to be a second wave coming at some point. But you got motherfuckers out here playing sports. Like, seriously, though. Exactly. That's what I mean. Like,
I'm not getting it, man. You got cities that opened up that now are scaling it backwards because they got to shut down because of the rise of infection. You got school districts that don't even know whether they're going to open up or not. I'm talking about going to conventional schooling. Conventional schooling, if the rate that we're going, 15 years from now, these kids ain't going to know what a conventional schooling is. Everybody going to be online for a variety of reasons.
But what I'm saying, so, I mean, that's just a whole nother topic.
I know, that's a whole nother topic.
I'll save that for catch us on our health series, man.
Yeah. Let's put that out there.
I'm gonna wind it down.
Let's put that on it. We're gonna have the health series. We're gonna have multiple forums on different areas. The staple will always be a relationship forum. We're definitely gonna have that. Health and wellness is gonna be a staple. Education reform is going to be a staple. Like, so we're always going to have that. But, those forums will be on our Patreon platform. That's a subscription base. Right now it's $5 a month entry. But, I might make a lower tier. I think, me and Bobby May will talk about it. Maybe we'll make a lower tier just to get you in there so you could tease it, and maybe a $2 a month subscription. Something that you could, pique your interest and make you want to go into the next level. Come to the $5 level. Come to the $50 level.
We got
what I mean? Like,
we're going to have all kind of guests.
We got all type of guests. We got things lined up. We ready to go.
We ready to go, so just get ready. We're going to come back. And
I want to shout out some people, that, we go through. A couple of the pages. I know, what's my man on IG? He out there. He teaching. Or Raspy Rolls.
Yes.
Raspy Rolls is out there on
Earn
on
Leisure.
YouTube. Who said it again?
Earn Your Leisure.
Earn Your Leisure. Yeah, Earn Your Leisure is another platform. Definitely got to shout them out. Urban Excellence is out there. Then you got what's my man? Black Magic 363. He out there. Red Pill, Blue Pill. Professor Griff. You know, there's a lot of people that's out here that, you know, they have these platforms. Dr. Boyce Watkins, you know, he's another one. Black Business School. Like, dude, people are out here. They trying to, you know, reach the people and talk about the things that we need to move forward. You know, and we have elders. Like, there's elders in the game. You know, there's so many in the name. So, but yes, you know, Two Grumpy Men, we out here. You can go to the website, twogrumpymen.com. That's where you get the ebooks. thegrumpymen.com is where you could, you know, you could listen to the podcast. We got a merchandise section on there. You can go and check that out. You know, eventually we'll merge everything into one website, but, you know, just right now it's on two websites, you know, because people think of us and say The Grumpy Men. So when you type that in, good, you'll get that. thegrumpymen.com, then you'll see us there. Or it's Two Grumpy Men? Oh, okay, well, then you'll see us over there. You'll see some ebooks, and, you know, we'll put some merch on there. But, you know, Patreon, TuneIn, Spotify, Spreaker, like, we all over the place. You know, Apple Podcasts, we on iHeartRadio. You know, hey, we out here.
Yeah.
So we do our part, y'all do your part. But, again, you know, even in capitalism, you can support other people because, you know, we do that. You know, people support us. And, you know, we just going to cross-promote at this point. And I know that there's platforms that I left off that I do listen to, but, you know, as time goes on, we ain't going anywhere. You know, we just getting started. So this was just a check-in, baby. But those forums, the forums is going to be the shit.
Yeah, so, we're going to start checking in during the week. So get ready.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, we're going to go now we're going 2 days a week. So, you know, we're going to air them 2 days a week, and we're going to have some call-ins. And, you know, it is what it is. You know, I guess it's just that time, man, you know.
So yeah, we're going to, and we'll just go ahead and end it off on that note. And catch us on Patreon or catch us for the end-of-week check-in.
That's it. Patreon or end-of-week check-in. That's how it's going down.
All
right, so we'll be back with another episode. The Two Grumpy Men is out of here. Peace.